Hello and welcome to a Thursday edition where I accidentally hit the go live button when I was just meaning to switch over to something else. So I'm a little early, about 10 minutes early. But what's wrong with that? I am Hunter King, Blind Eye himself, owner and proprietor of Blind Eye Media. This tiny little YouTube channel that few people know about so far. Hope you all are having a great Thursday. I was actually just organizing the show and looking into some stuff, and I accidentally clicked the go live. I was setting up all my titles and stuff so I could go live on time, and I beat it. Let's see here. Yeah. So, like I said, hope everybody is having a good Thursday. Did not go live this morning. Woke up, was getting ready, and I had a headache. Still have a residual headache across, like just above my eye line, and it's just, or like across my eyebrows. It's just nagging headache here. So, and I mean, there's not like a ton I wanted to talk about today. I don't know if I had enough for two shows anyway, so figured I'd just do the afternoon show. Should be back to doing a morning show tomorrow because got plenty to talk about. Or I should have plenty to talk about tomorrow, especially considering I believe we've got two game threes tonight as well. I think we're, unless I'm wrong. Oh my gosh, my head. Anyway, so on the docket for the show today, NBA Round 2, Game 2s for Heat Sixers, Suns Mavs. Happened last night. Spoiler alert, the top seeds did well. Oh my gosh, that crack was a pitch I'm not used to hearing. Anyway, so started this a little early, so I'm kind of like, I said not everything would be live at 3. Whoopsie. So I guess we will jump into. Let's hit up some news stuff real quick. We'll pop over to the screen share. So, this is some fun news. Washington Commanders bringing back their 87-year-old marching band after a 2-year hiatus. The Washington Commanders reached back into their past to continue a tradition that became a hallmark at home games. Restoring their marching band after a 2-year absence, the team announced Friday, which, of course, that was caused because of COVID. Crazy to think that's been 2 years ago now, or it's been more than 2 years ago now since the start of that fiasco. The marching band has been a franchise staple since the team moved to Washington in 1937. They were originally the Boston Braves. Yes, they had the same name as the baseball team that at the same time was also in Boston, or at least started off in Boston, and became famous for playing its fight song after touchdowns. They became commonplace in the Washington area, routinely marching in area parades. The band, however, had not had a presence over the past 2 seasons, first because the pandemic led to no fans in the stadium, save for one game, and then because the program was paused while the team rebranded its name and logo. While fans worried if they would return, Commanders president Jason Wright told ESPN last year that they always intended for the band to come back. According to a release, the team also will revamp the lyrics to their former fight song. The previous fight song, which debuted in 1938, underwent several revisions over the years. The 60-member all-volunteer band, featuring woodwind, brass, and percussion instruments, will have new burgundy and gold uniforms. All volunteer, really? It's kind of cheap. I mean, I'm not saying that the people are cheap. I mean, like, organization. Washington replaced its cheerleaders with a co-ed dance team last season. The team announced that the new commander's name on February 2nd, also unveiling new uniforms and a crest. Yeah, and the Washington Commies is such a apt but terrible name. Like, what are you doing? Let's see. Of course, the Baker saga goes on. He is still a Brown. This is big news. So this, Dylan Brooks, like I said yesterday, didn't end up going through and finding the video, but Dylan Brooks injured Gary Payton II, which I saw this last night, and I'll add this as an addendum. Dylan Brooks is suspended for Game 3 after his just heinous foul that injured Gary Payton II. Luckily, his elbow injury, he's only going to be down a month. Maybe a little longer, but they were saying around a month, which is really good news. I thought this was a much more devastating injury. Draymond was fined $25,000 for flipping off Grizzlies fans during Game 2. I mean, you know the rules. Let's see, Marcus Smart is Marcus Smart sees strong likelihood he'll play in Game 3. That is really good news for the Celtics as they take to the road and try and take back home court advantage from the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's see. All right, we'll move to that story next. So, before we get into the playoff stuff, Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones involved in minor car crash, taken to hospital as precaution. Well, dadgummit. So, I saw this last night as well. So, Dallas Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones was involved in a minor car crash Wednesday night in Dallas. He was taken to a local hospital for precautionary measures. Cowboys Vice President Stephen Jones said in a text message to ESPN that his father was back home and all good. Well, that's good. WFAA, citing multiple Dallas police sources, reported that Jones was in a crash just before 8:10 p.m. Central near Wolf and Harvey Hines Boulevard. Emergency crews were called to the scene, and Jones reportedly suffered minor injuries. It is not clear if Jones, 79, was driving. Dallas police spokesperson said the department doesn't give the names of people involved in crashes unless there is a fatality. I'm going to assume that Jerry Jones was not driving. Like, that guy's rich. That guy's not... Jerry Jones is not driving himself around. Are you crazy? Maybe I'm wrong, but if I had that kind of money, even if I could drive, I wouldn't be. So, let's get into these Game 2 results here. Heat Sixers. Miami jumped out to a 7-point lead, and they just outplayed the Sixers the rest of the way, outscored them in every quarter. Both teams improved offensively from Game 1, but that didn't really matter for the Sixers. So, Sixers still down Joel Embiid, there is no timetable right now for Embiid. They are uncertain of what his status will be for the rest of the series. So Tobias Harris played 38 minutes, 9 of 17 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, hit his only free throw, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 4 fouls, 21 points. He was minus 11. Despite 2 steals in 23 minutes, Danny Green, 1 of 10 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3, minus 18. That is terrible. DeAndre Jordan managed to only play 13 minutes in this game. He made all 3 of his shots. He had 5 rebounds. Even picked up an assist. Scored 6 points. He was minus 9 in 13 minutes. Oof. Tyrese Maxey, 43 minutes, led the Sixers in minutes. 12 of 22 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 9 of 11 from the line. 3 rebounds. Only 1 assist because he does most of his damage working off the ball or shooting. He's still kind of growing as a playmaker. 2 steals, 34 points, only 1 foul, no turnovers. Was minus 10. But awesome game for Maxey, scoring really efficient. 3-point shooting was down, but I mean, when you're going 11 for 18 inside the arc, 9 of 11 from the line, I mean, really good game. 41 minutes for James Harden, 6 of 15 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. Made all 7 of his free throws, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, a block, 3 turnovers, 3 fouls, 20 points, minus 10 for the game. I'm still underwhelmed by James Harden. Yes, he had a 29 game, but you're shooting 40% from the field and 1 of 5 from 3. It's... Considering how high his usage is, especially with Embiid out, it's just kind of disappointing. I mean, obviously, it's good that, it's really good that Maxey and Harris, considering they were more efficient, shot more shots. But, Harden's got to be better than this. Of course, Harden's efficiency numbers have never really been that good. Like, especially from, 3-point range. It's not like he's ever been, a high 30%. He usually is around, max, 37%. Yes, it's a high degree of difficulty, and he shoots a lot of them. But he's got to do better than this if the Sixers are going to stand a chance. Off the bench, Paul Reed played 25 minutes, 2 of 4 from the field, 4 rebounds, an assist, a steal, 2 blocks, minus 2, 4 points. Paul Reed was a second-round pick. I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year, but really, or a guy that I really liked. I thought he had potential as a elite role player, potential role player starter, and he's playing like it. Georges Niang had 10 minutes, 2 rebounds, an assist, 5 points. He was plus 3, but he fouled out. I don't know how you commit 6 fouls in 10 minutes unless your team's asking you to foul. So, Matisse Thybulle played 21 minutes, attempted no shots, no free throws, had 2 rebounds, a steal, a block, a turnover, a foul. He was minus 6 in those minutes. Thybulle's defense is amazing, but the lack of offensive skill and development is just getting disappointing. Not that anyone thought he'd be a great defender or anything, but we did have hope for those of us who were stumping for Thybulle during the draft process. Furkan Korkmaz, yes, his name is Furkan Korkmaz. He's from Turkey. 18 minutes, 3 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 6 rebounds, 4 fouls, 8 points. He was minus 5. Only one player on the Sixers was a plus in this game, and that was Georges Niang in his 10 minutes in which he fouled out of. Really weird. Sixers 45% from the field, shooting 26.7% from 3. And you could think a lot of that for Danny Green. He took almost a third of their 3-point attempts with 9 threes, and he only made 1. They were 19 of 22 from the line, though. 86.4%. That's pretty nice. The Heat, on the other hand, seemed like business picked up for everybody across the board, just about it. PJ Tucker in 26 minutes, 2 of 6 from the field, but 2 of 3 from 3. 1 rebound, 1 steal, 3 fouls, a turnover, 6 points. He was -2 in his minutes, which is interesting. Jimmy Butler in 37 minutes, much better offensively in this game. 8 of 15 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3, 5 of 7 from the line. 6 rebounds, 3 offensive, 12 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers, 2 fouls, 22 points. He was +11. Bam Adebayo was +15. He had 23 points on 7-11 shooting, 9 of 11 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 3 offensive, 3 assists, a steal, a foul, 3 fouls and a turnover in 33 minutes. Gabe Vincent, 28 minutes. He was 3 of 7, 1 of 4 from 3, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 3 fouls. He was +10 with 7 points. Max Struss starting again, 27 points. All 6 of his attempts were from 3, made 3 of them, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, a turnover, 4 fouls, 9 points, +13 on the game. Their starting lineup was pretty good. Although it seems like Tucker was on the court for, I guess, what the Heat's worst stretch of the game, or stretch is. Coming off the bench, you got Caleb Martin, 13 minutes, 2 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from three-point land, 1 of 1 from the free throw line, 2 rebounds, a steal, 1 foul. He was +3 with 6 points. Dwayne Dedmon played 11 minutes in this game, 2 of 5 from the field, missed both his threes, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, a block, a turnover, 7 points. He was +6. Let's see here. Tyler Hero in 33 minutes, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, 2 turnovers, 3 fouls. He was +9 with 18 points. Seems like he probably could have shot the ball a little bit more, but I'm going to guess they were throwing a lot of attention his way. Victor Oladipo plays 29 minutes in this game. 6 of 11 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, 6 rebounds and assists, 4 turnovers, 3 fouls, 19 points, +6. Victor Oladipo looking the most Victor Oladipo-ish I think that he has in this playoffs, which is a good sign for Miami. And Kyle Lowry is hoping to be back before the end of this series. Duncan Robinson played a minute in this game. It's been really weird. I don't know if he's coming back from injury or if they just... It's interesting because he didn't play at all in the previous game, only 1 minute in this game. I guess I've forgotten whether he was hurt or not. But I know he was having a down shooting season for a bit of the year. So the Heat shot over 51% from the field. They attempted less shots than the Sixers in this game and made more of them. They were 14 of 29 from 3, which is lights out. 48.3% as a team. You're going to win if you're shooting like that typically, especially if the other team's shooting poorly. And they shot more free throws. They shot 31 to Philly's 22, and they made 25 of theirs for an 80.6% clip. I mean, once again, I really thought going into the series it was going to take, or especially with Embiid injured, the Heat had a big advantage. And I think the Heat just play as a more cohesive team anyway. And their bench, like their role players, have been more effective. I'm not shocked to see them up 2-0. In the other game 2 last night, the Suns absolutely ran away from the Mavs. 20-point win here. Phoenix did go into halftime down 2 points, and then they just crushed the Mavs in the second half. especially the fourth quarter, outscored him by 14 points. I mean, when you have a 22-point swing in the game, or wait a second, sorry. They were down 2-1 by 20. Yeah, when you have a 22-point swing in a half, it's pretty brutal. Suns really lit it up in the fourth quarter, going for 40 points in a quarter. Starting with the Mavs, Dorian Finney-Smith played 20 minutes. He had 4 fouls. He was completely, a lot of their lineups were ineffective in this game, but he was minus 28 for the game in 20 minutes. Reggie Bullock played 37 minutes. He was minus 24. Now, shooting-wise, Bullock was improved this game. 5 of 9 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. But 4 rebounds, a steal, 3 fouls, still minus 24. Their defense was just completely ineffective. Dwight Powell was only able to play 13 minutes of this game. He had 5 fouls. He was minus 18 in 13 minutes. With 4 points, 2 turnovers, 5 fouls once again. No rebounds. Jalen Brunson had a rough game. 28 minutes, 3 of 12 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. Made both his free throws, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 9 points. He was minus 22 with 3 turnovers and 4 fouls. And Luka, Luka's carrying a heavy burden here. Efficiency-wise, 36 minutes, 13 to 22 from the field. 5 of 10 from 3, 4 of 5 from the line. Interesting he didn't get a few more free throws in this game, but because superstars in playoff games, man. But 5 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal. The 7 turnovers is kind of ugly. 35 points, but shooting-wise, super efficient. I mean, to a degree, you kind of feel bad for Luka. Not getting a little more help. Maxi Kleber in this game, 28 minutes. I've talked him up on this channel a bit. 3 of 6 from the field, missed all 3 of his threes, made all his free throws, 3 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, 9 points. But he was plus 4. Seemed like the Mavs bench did, or was somewhat successful for a stretch this game. Probably in the middle of the second quarter or something, when the Mavs took back the lead, or I guess early in the first half when the Mavs were able to catch some leads. Davis Bertans, 19 minutes, all 7 of his attempts were from 3. He made 3 of them, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 fouls, 9 points. He was plus 7. Sterling Brown, Marquise Chris, and Trey Burke all played 5 minutes. Chris ended up with all of them hit a shot. Chris was 3 of 4 from the free throw line. They were plus 1. I'm guessing maybe this was garbage time at the end of the game after the Suns had just ran up on them. Spencer Dinwiddie played 28 minutes in this game. He was 3 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 3 of 4 from the line. Had an offensive rebound, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 1 personal foul. He was plus 1 with 11 points. Frank Ntilikina played 5 minutes. And then Josh Green, 12 minutes, had no shot attempts, had a rebound, 2 fouls, no points, but he was plus 4. The Mavs for the game, 83% from the free throw line on 20 of 24. They were 17 of 41 from 3, 41.5% from 3, but 45.6% from the game, or, for the game shooting overall. I mean, they shot really well from 3, but they couldn't stop the Suns. Jay Crowder, 29 minutes, 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 of 5 from the free throw line. He had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block, turnover, 1 foul. 15 points. He was plus 15. Suns starting lineup was really good in this game. Michael Bridges, 39 minutes. He only had 6 shot attempts. He made 5 of them. 1 of 2 from 3. He had 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, a foul, no turnovers, 11 points. He was plus 31 in 39 minutes. DeAndre Ayton had some foul trouble in this game. Played 18 minutes, 3 of 6 from the field, 3 of 4 from the line, 3 rebounds, 3 turnovers, 4 fouls. But he was plus 12 in his 18 minutes. He had 9 points. It just goes to show the depth of this team. Chris Paul in 36 minutes was incredible. 11 of 16 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line. That means he went 10 of 14 inside the arc. 6 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal, 3 turnovers, 2 fouls, plus 19. He scored 28 points. And in some regards, it's like Chris Paul is getting better with age in certain ways. Like, it feels like his year to win a title. Finally, Devin Booker, 36 minutes, 11 of 19 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3, 3 of 3 from the line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, 2 turnovers, 4 fouls, 30 points. He was plus 21. Those plus-minus numbers for the starting lineup, just insane. Let's see. Isaiah Wainwright, I think it's Isaiah, 6 minutes late in the game. He was minus 10 in his 6 minutes in this game. Torrey Craig played 3 minutes. He was minus 7. The bench also. So Cameron Johnson only played 17 minutes in this game. 3 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line. 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 fouls, 2 turnovers, 4 fouls. 9 points. He was plus 19 in 17 minutes. JaVale McGee played 10 minutes. 3 of 3 from the field, 2 rebounds, an assist, 3 blocked shots, 2 turnovers, 5 fouls. He was minus 3, but with 6 points. Bismack Biyombo, I guess McGee probably played most of his minutes down the stretch with, which is why he ended up with a negative plus-minus there. But Bismack Biyombo, 18 minutes, 4 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from the line, 3 rebounds, 1 block, 2 fouls, 9 points. He was plus 12. Cameron Payne played 12 minutes, 2 of 4 from the field, 1 3-point attempt that he missed, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, turnover, foul, 4 points. He was minus 10. And then Landry Shamet in 15 minutes, 2 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, a rebound, a steal, a foul, 5 points. He was plus 1. The Suns were 49 of 76 from the field, good for a 64.5% field goal percentage. That's insane. 13 of 25 from 3, so 52%. They only made 2 fewer threes. Or, sorry, my bad. Wait. That's 17 of 41. My math's bad. So, 4 fewer threes, but they did that on 16 fewer attempts. That's incredible efficiency. And 18 of 21 from the free throw line. So they, for an 85.7% efficiency. They shot less free throws, made less free throws, still won 20 points on the game. The Suns' just offensive efficiency was insane. That's like that kind of clip shooting is fairly unsustainable, if I'm being completely honest. But the Mavs, I mean, it doesn't seem like the Mavs have the ability to stop them. So those series, both Heat and Suns up 2-0, heading on the road. Tonight, or at least I believe we should have games tonight. Let me check the schedule here. We do not have games tonight, then I guess. No. Let's look Thursday. Yeah, no game scheduled. That's interesting. So the games with the 1 seeds are going to move ahead. That's a big layoff for I guess maybe it's because of, well, that's really interesting. Like the Sixers, Heat, Mavs, and Suns are going to have to turn around and play their game 3s on 2 days rest after traveling, where the Celtics and the Bucks and the Grizzlies and Warriors, they're getting like, what is that? Their games were on Tuesday, so 1, 2, 3. They're getting 3 days of rest, or like 3 open days between games 2 and 3, whereas the one or the teams that played their game 2s last night only getting 1 open day. That's interesting scheduling, to say the least. Wouldn't necessarily call it fair scheduling, but then again, I think those series is maybe. Well, no, the Warriors wrapped their series up quick. The Suns had to play, I think, 6 games. The Heat, handled their series pretty quickly. So I don't know. That's interesting. Scheduling tick there. That moves into another topic I want to talk about. So apparently, let me find the story for it here. If I can find it here. So the SEC and Pac-12 commissioners seek NIL help in DC. I think I might have talked about this yesterday, but Steve Sarkisian talks SEC, but notes Texas is still in the Big 12. Ohio State University's athletic director, let football belong to the college football playoff, not the NCAA. Now that was not like a proposal, but he said, there's a lot of brainstorming, and this idea, it's like, this is an idea we have to think about. Because the NCAA has decided not to lead on issues that they don't, that people want change on, and the NCAA doesn't want to change. Let's see. Ooh, that's an interesting story. So let's look at these stories. So we'll start here. SEC and Pac-12 commissioners visit Washington in pursuit of help with NIL policies, because the NCAA won't do anything if Congress doesn't make them, because they're lazy pieces of crap. So SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Pac-12 Commissioner George Klavekoff met with United States senators in Washington, D.C. on Thursday to ask for legislative help surrounding name, image, and likeness policies. I've been invited to meetings with several. I don't like getting the federal government involved in anything if I can help it, because they never get anything done in a timely manner. They don't do anything right, and they end up hurting more people than they help. Kind of like the NCAA, but here we are. I've been invited to meetings with several senators tomorrow to discuss the issues we're seeing with name, image, and likeness, and with the existential threat of our student athletes being deemed to be employees. Well, the only threat of them being employees is if you screw too harshly with NIL. NCAA President Mark Emmert and other leaders in college athletics have been asking for federal lawmakers to step in and regulate NIL policies, because Mark Emmert refuses to make any rulings that are in the benefits of athletes or sports, but only in the benefit of the profitability of the NCAA as an institution. There are currently no federal regulations around NIL, and state laws vary considerably. And you know what? That's okay. That's fine. Klavkov contacted Democratic Washington Senator Maria Cantwell, whom he knows from their time working together at Real Networks. Well, that's great. He and Sankey were scheduled to meet with Cantwell and Republican Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, and had hoped to meet with other senators from both parties. Interesting that both these senators are women. For far too long, the NCAA has refused to allow student athletes to benefit from the use of their name, image, and likeness, Blackburn said in a statement issued after Thursday's meeting, which I agree with. NCAA President Mark Emmert's resignation is one of many necessary structural changes that will enable the NCAA to support our student athletes. That's brutal. Oh man, Blackburn's great. I continued to push for the accountability and fairness measures our student athletes deserve. Klavkov on Wednesday said the goal of the meeting was to discuss issues facing college athletics with influential senators. Okay. I think it's more likely that we eventually get federal legislation on name, image, and likeness. But we're also interested in discussing all of the harm that will come to student athletes if they are deemed to be employees, Klavkov said. And I agree with that. Because I think it'll harm everyone involved if it comes to being employees. Because I'm just going to be honest, like, it's college athletics. Like, you're student athletes. I think the NIL route is the way to go. Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby, while supportive of the meeting, expressed doubts that anything will come of it in the short term. Well, of course not. But Bob Bowlesby is also extremely short-sighted and stupid. He's one of these people, like Mark Emmert, who'd rather sit on his hands than actually do anything. Getting anything done before the midterm elections is going to be next to impossible, Bowlesby told ESPN's Adam Rittenberg on Thursday. Now, that's possibly true, but you need to start work on it now. Oh, my God. Yeah, if you procrastinate, if you're looking for an excuse to procrastinate, you will always find an excuse to procrastinate. Trust me, I know from experience. It's great that they are going to do it, whether anything comes of it. We've had relationships with the same people they're talking to for a while, so we'll see what comes of it. I wouldn't put too much significance on it. Now, maybe there's also, he's just black-pilled to everything, and I get it, and he's just being nihilistic. He's like, yeah, we've talked to these people before. We've been talking about this for a while, and nothing's happened. Why would anything happen now? I get that sentiment, actually. I still think Bob Bowlesby's a moron. The meetings come on the heels of Pac-12 spring meetings, during which athletic directors and coaches sought solutions to better control the NIL landscape. Well, the thing is, and this is the problem, all these people want solutions, but they want everyone to agree rather than just doing what they believe is principled or principally right. How about you do what you think is the right thing? Except they won't, because they don't want to put themselves at a disadvantage to other schools or conferences. Klykov told ESPN it is imperative to enforce rules prohibiting the use of NIL as a recruiting inducement or pay for play. And I mean, I agree with that in so much as well, this is the problem here. If you're going to do NIL, guess what? As big a star as you are, you could be the number one recruit in the country. You know what? I'll finish reading this and then I'll get into a spiel because I'm going to pull the article down. Either the NCAA is going to get its act together in enforcing this, he said Wednesday, or I'm going to be pushing for a smaller group to figure out how to create and enforce the NIL rules that we all agree on related to inducement and pay for play. The amount of an NIL payment should be commensurate with the work done as a backstop to make sure we're not using it related to inducement and pay for play. Well, who decides what the commensurate work is being done? See, that's a term I don't like. So here's where, this is one of the reasons I want to talk about this, because this once again lets me go on an NIL rant and a rant about the state of the people in charge of making these decisions. For starters, he used the term paid commensurate with work. Well, if that's the point of this whole thing, if they're doing a job and being paid for a job, then they have to be employees. If you don't want that, don't use that terminology. I feel like I'm a little crooked right now. Whoops. Maybe I was sitting crooked. Sorry. This is what happens when blind men are having to, set up their own cameras and stuff. Visual's not my strong suit anymore. So, if you're going to talk about commensurate work in regards to NIL payments, then you're talking about employees. Not the worth of their name and their brand on their own, which is what NIL is supposed to be. See, this is the thing. Klykov wants to put a cap, from what it sounds like, he wants to put a cap on what they can earn, on what players are able to get. Yeah, you can get, but, we're going to determine how much you get to get. I don't think that's fair. That's not what NIL should be about. Because if you're determining it, that means that you are saying that the money is coming from their work for your school and your program. That's what those words read to me. Now, if he's misspeaking or he means something else, he needs to find a better way to word it. Because he's talking about employees by saying that. Because NIL is not about worth. It's about name, image, and likeness. That's what NIL stands for. Your brand can be derived from your work, but that player is a brand. That player's image is his own. So the money shouldn't be commensurate with anything except what people are willing to pay to have his name attached to their products. And advertising their stuff or doing whatever. That's what they're worth. If you start attaching it to what they're doing on the field, they are now employees. So he needs to watch his mouth, or he's about to screw everything up for himself. Two. I definitely don't want them being employees. And I don't want some kind of standardized system where we've decided that every college player is worth the same amount of money, because that's not true. That's absolutely not true. No person is worth exactly what some other person is worth. It's one of my problems with the way it's one of my problems with how the job market has gone. It's because of all these morons going to college and then just accepting whatever they're told is commiserate with their job. Now, at the minimum, yeah, there's a minimum base out or base for like certain things, and it should not go up because it will make everything go up twice as much. When you start raising minimum wage, that's literally the minimum value of anything. You're not taking the pile and you're just moving it up and nothing else goes up. You're basically saying what the minimum level of work is and what it is worth. Well, guess what? Making most of the products that people are spending on is not minimum labor work necessarily. Or it costs, or there's a lot of investment. I'm sorry, if you up minimum wage, you're going to up. That's just basic economics. It ups the price of everything. Because what you're doing by upping minimum wages, you're devaluing your currency. If you don't understand that, you don't understand basic economics. You live in some pie in the sky world where you can just this isn't a video game. Like, you're not a video game developer and you can tweak all the world settings and make it how you want it. That's not how the world works. It's not how any economy works either. It's actually one of my issues with minimum wage. Because now you're setting a minimum value to things. People can decide that something is of minimal value rather than there just being a vacuum that people create the value of. Anytime you start creating a minimum wage, you devalue currency value, whatever. Reason I say that, when you are talking about creating, if the idea is he's wanting to create some kind of cap on what people can earn from NIL, he's probably also wanting to probably standardize some of this stuff. And I'm sorry, it shouldn't be standardized because people aren't robots and people aren't just interchangeable. USC, well, the Pac-12 should know that completely well because of everything that's happened in their conference the last few years with coaches leaving, quarterbacks changing. Look at where USC was 15 years ago. They were at the top. Before Pete Carroll left, they were at the top of college football in the mid-2000s. And oh, there's a cattail. He's about to come over here. Cat, I'm busy. Oh, he's going for his food. Anyway, when your QB talent drops, your team's ceiling drops. When you downgrade at coach, your team's ceiling drops. Just because someone's a head coach doesn't mean they deserve the same amount of money as the head coach down the street. The head coach at USC is a much more high profile, much more difficult, demanding job than the head coach at the University of Cal. And that is a significantly more demanding and valuable job than the head coaching job at UC Davis. It's just facts. There just shouldn't be any limits on the money. Now, where it comes from, absolutely. I would prefer that people not just pay players just because they come to their school, like boosters. Now, if boosters have businesses and they're willing to sponsor players when they come in, I think that's totally fine. I would prefer if NIL deals were with bigger brands that were just going to sign these players regardless of where they went. But once you're with a school, if teams... Now, and maybe this is the thing. I'd be okay if they wanted to make limits of local area businesses. Like maybe there are certain brands that are okay. Like if you sign someone to a contract, you have to maybe there's a window that you can negotiate with players before they get into college for national brands, and or there's brands that there are contracts you can sign that are multi-year and they will not be nullified regardless of where a player plays. That I'm okay with. I would like those. That's a rule I'm fine with. I would also like there to be potentially the other way to do it is maybe you separate national brands and local stuff. If you are affiliated with a university, you're not allowed to negotiate any kind of NIL deals unless a player is at the school. And I'd be totally okay with there being NIL contracts from certain people that are like, look, we'll sign you to a multi-year deal, but you don't get all the money unless it's like it's paid out over a multi-year period. And if you transfer, da-da-da. I'd even be okay with being a little more, or with there even being somewhat predatory contracts from, NIL people, because obviously for certain businesses, it's going to be better for them if they're playing for certain schools or staying with that more local school and having language in there where it's like, look, I'm willing to offer you a multi-year contract for this amount of money. But if you don't uphold every year of this NIL deal and you transfer out, you have to pay back so much or some of that money, which would also potentially help these guys be a little more smart with spending their money. I'm okay with there being some rules with NIL, but I would prefer for schools themselves to be as hands-off with NIL, the conferences to be as hands-off as NIL as possible. This is the player's name, image, and likeness, and the schools should not be affecting, nor the conferences be affecting their ability to make money off of their names. Period. And if, and I'll say this, if Pitt, because a lot of this is coming on the heels of what's just happened with Jordan Addison, and regardless of all the messaging, it's pretty well known that a lot of this has to do with NIL stuff. And, or at least it's heavily implied by most people, regardless of what his camp says, the view of it is this is an NIL issue to a certain degree, to a pretty decent degree. That being said, if Pitt's boosters are attached to companies, and this is kind of the thing, like, the kids making the big money are the star players who are getting stuff. And I know a lot of the NIL stuff right now there's boosters involved. But, to some degree, I'd rather the boosters invest directly in players rather than just giving it to the university for the university to manage in some regards. Because, I don't know. There's so much money in college sports. I'd rather us have the NIL Wild West than us regulate it and once again ruin it for players. Because, to be honest, who is anyone to say that a player is worth $50,000, $200,000, or $2 million, or whatever? It's what the market dictates. It's what they can negotiate. And that's what it should be about. This should be about the players. And the people complaining, I don't really think it's about the players. Like, even with Saban and Smart, I know in some degrees they're trying to look out for players and their development, because they have their own opinion on how development works best. And I do believe that players staying with the same team for their entire careers is usually the best option. And I would totally support I would definitely support us kind of looking at the transfer rules too in this climate. Because I like the loosening of transfer rules, but now we've got NIL on the table, and I could see companies wanting to steer their top players. Like, a guy signs a NIL deal with Nike. Well, who would Nike rather have you playing for? Pittsburgh, Alabama, Pittsburgh, or USC? Just saying. Because they're going to be like, our investment is, it's like, we'll up our investment in you if you're at this other place, because you're going to get more eyeballs and you're going to have a bigger impact at this other school. So that is something to think about. That is, I mean, it definitely is. Let's see. And then tied to that, here it is. College Football Coaches Association to propose transfer windows. Which, and what they mean is probably unified. So, because there are technically transfer windows, but it depends on the school. So some schools do it on a semester basis. So to get signed up for classes, you have to be there by a certain point early in the semester. Well, other schools have a what's the word? They have a quarterly schedule rather than semesters. They have like quarterly like blocks, if you will. I mean, that's what quarterly means. Semester, it's, you've got two, but so they're kind of like, maybe you want to call them quadmesters, whatever. So their ability to enroll for classes and be ready for spring practice, you have more time. So some teams had a little bit of an advantage waiting on transfer stuff to happen. So College Football Coaches Association proposes transfer windows. Let's see here. Which, this is a thing in professional soccer. So Scottsdale, Arizona, our college football coaches will propose transfer windows in the late fall and spring to help with roster management around the transfer portal. Todd Berry, executive director of the American Football Coaches Association, said Tuesday his group would like 2 transfer windows for players to enter their names in the portal. One from the final Sunday in November until the early signing day in mid-December, and another from April 15th to May 1st. Both windows would coincide with both periods would coincide with contact periods in recruiting. Players wouldn't be required to transfer, only to enter the portal during designed or designated time periods. And I like that, because there's another thing. There's also been this big flux of transfers in like the summer. And I like the idea of players being locked into teams for the entire summer and fall. The NCAA's transfer portal, which debuted in October 2018, currently doesn't have specific windows for movement. The only deadline is that players must notify schools that they are entering the portal by May 1st of each academic year. Berry noted that... Oh, wait a second. I mean, I get that, but technically, if you then do it on May 2nd, is that for the next academic year? That's not really specific enough for me. Berry noted that AFCA members proposed transfer windows before the portal went into effect, but they have not been adopted. We knew there were going to be very few controls over it, but at least if we had a window, then the student athletes would be able to go, is this a good decision? Because here's my competition. And that I agree with. Like, I think there should be a designated window. Either make a decision or don't, and make it in a timely manner. Now I know what the other competition is because we're all in the window at the same time, Barry told ESPN. It might change some perspectives. They need to be able to make educated decisions, and that will help players make educated decisions. Absolutely. We're working on a window concept that I think is going to be very good for the student athlete to give them those opportunities and to provide the universities and their team and teammates with a little bit more clarity on positions and recruiting and those kinds of things. And I agree with that. This should be a two-way street here. Barry said the current portal setup without windows has created turmoil and chaos with roster management. He thinks the coach's proposal likely will go to the NCAA Division I Football Oversight Committee and the Division I Transformation Committee. A football oversight committee source told ESPN that transfer windows are a foregone conclusion. Well, that's good. Then just do it. Arizona coach Jed Fish said multiple transfer windows are important to help both athletes and coaches. There are 2 legitimate windows after the season and after spring practice. Oh, I didn't see that semicolon because that seemed like a run-on. There are 2 legitimate windows after the season and after spring practice, Fish told ESPN. To assume that they can make a decision after just a season, you're assuming that recruiting isn't going to play a role. You have to see who did they sign. What did the recruiting class look like? And then spring ball. Who came early? I thought I was the second back, but I'm really the 4th back. Who left early? Oh, second back. End of that quote. Then who left early? You have to give them that opportunity. And I think that is smart, or is good. So player transfers to a school. A player transfers to a school and he doesn't know what like the recruiting class looks like. He gets there and it's like, holy crap, I'm 4th on the depth chart. Maybe if he can wait until after spring ball and see what that team looks like, that's not bad. That's not a bad idea. I'd argue though that April 15th to May 1st period they talked about, I'd probably lengthen that and make it a whole month's worth of time, and it's interesting that the last Sunday in November to like the early signing period, so people wouldn't be able to transfer between the like early signing day and spring practice. That one also seems a little weird to me. Or I mean, like, I like the idea of windows, but maybe there should be 3. Or we need to, I don't know. I'd almost argue I would prefer that the windows be between the signing days and the other after spring ball or during and after spring ball or spring camp. But I get the idea. It's like guys put their name in and guys make decisions going into early signing day, and then you have that second recruiting or that back half of the recruiting window, like between early signing day and classic signing day. But this is my thing. I would like to push the early signing day from December to before the season. So guys, if they're committed going into their senior years of high school, they can go ahead, sign the dotted line, I'm sold, I'm going to this team. That way, you don't have like all these crazy coaching decisions being made like at the end of October, beginning of November, while the season's still going on, trying to get ahead of the early signing day for recruiting. Because I don't like that as it stands. I don't think that's optimal, personally. Let's see. So, let's see what else we've got here. Barry says the AFCA also supports eliminating the maximum of 25 initial scholarships coaches are allowed during each recruiting class, saying that teams should be allowed to reach the 85 scholarship limit on their own timetable. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Barry mentioned one school that has who has as few as 62 total scholarship players, and with all the chaos, some teams have so many holes to fill on their roster, they don't have enough players at certain positions. And that I agree with. Like, if I lose 30-something kids, like, sometimes you can't necessarily get as many people to transfer in, but you can get more recruits who don't have anywhere yet. It's like doing that would allow for, more players, more French recruits to get scholarships. Because you have some guys who just decide to drop out of football altogether. Some guys get hurt and can't play anymore. By keeping the number of annual official visits at 56, teams would be... Oh, wait. Did I miss something? No. This just seems like a real big switch here because they hadn't even talked about this yet. By keeping the number of annual official visits at 56, teams would be prevented from overturning their entire rosters. See, I didn't hear this either. We need to lose the scholarship limit or scholarship per year limit, and we need to create some portal windows, and then we need to build a recruiting calendar that understands that some of it's going to be high school and some of it's going to be transfers, Barry said. And you got 2 transfer windows to work around. And so it's going to take a reworking of the calendar, but we need to find out first if we can get the portal windows put in. I agree with what they're talking about here. I'm actually all for these changes. I'm down with portal windows, totally down with ditching the scholarship limits, the yearly scholarship limits. There's no reason there should be a limit on it's like you already have a maximum limit of scholarships on your team. You shouldn't have a yearly limit. Now, and I'm sure there are already rules for this. As long as there are rules preventing teams from just dropping guys from scholarships, or the initial scholarship limit or the yearly scholarship limit there should be no problem there. None. That's a good start. And we get those 2 things done, then we tweak from there. Until we find a balance of the system that works for everybody and works really well for the players too. Because this is going to help student athletes too. And at the end of the day, that's what this should be about. There needs to be organization so that kids aren't in a vacuum making poor decisions because they don't know as much, or they don't know what they're getting themselves into. It'll also protect kids potentially, or allow for some protection from kids from predatory coaches who, we want competition, so I'm going to promise things that I might end up not meeting and not attempting to meet because things went so well for me that I've now screwed over this young kid who thought he was getting something or I sold him a bill of goods and didn't deliver on it. Like, that's not fair to players. And they shouldn't be blamed because someone sweet talked them and then pulled the rug out from under them. Because these are young men. They're like guys coming out of high school. Like, they're starting to make these decisions at 16, 17. You've got guys in college, they're 18, 19, 20. They don't have the savvy and knowledge of some of us who have been around for 10 plus years, or who just started experiencing the world or looking into these things like at earlier ages. Like, some guys at 18, they've got the business mindset. They've got the critical thinking skills. They're smart enough to surround themselves with people who have their best interests at heart and are going to give them good advice. A lot of kids don't have that. A lot of these guys don't have that. A lot of guys are not developed to that degree, and they don't deserve to be taken advantage of. So I'm all for these changes. And with that, that's about all I got for the show. I think that's a solid hour. And honestly, if I can get to where I'm doing these shows in like an hour 15, I think I'm cool with that. I think y'all probably like that too, especially people watching or listening after the fact. So that being said, this has been Blind Eye Live for today. I will catch you tomorrow. Please follow me on Twitter at HunterK13, Instagram at HunterKing1313, and I'm putting some short videos right now. It's mostly just like little previews for the show and reminders on Instagram. Twitter, I'm always talking a bunch of stuff. But Instagram, I'm planning on doing some short video content on Instagram as well. So please follow me there. Eventually I've been talking about it for a long time, but I didn't get to talk to my guy last night. Hopefully I'll have some graphics that'll have like all that stuff on there. So hope you have a great rest of your Thursday, and I will catch y'all